Hi folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Steve and welcome to the channel on another rather cool, just about dry Friday in Torrevieja. I get asked quite often, both by people who are thinking of making maybe their first winter trip to Spain for a holiday, a weekend, but mostly by people who are considering sailing up and moving here to live, or people who are thinking about spending their winters in Spain. What it's actually like here during the winter months, not just the weather, everything. So in this video I'm going to talk about my experience and opinions after spending 2 years here in winter. And as usual, I'm going to be very honest, I will be telling you the negatives as well as the positives, as I see it, my opinion. But before I do, especially before I get into any negatives, let me tell you this. I absolutely love it here. I feel so lucky to be able to live here, spend my winters here, where even at the end of February, I can still sit out here in my t-shirt. It's not roasting hot, but it's nice. It's cloudy, but it's fine. And if the clouds weren't there, I'd be getting a suntan. But yes, I'm going to give you my honest view of everything, including the good, the bad, and the not so much ugly. I can't think of anything too ugly. Right? I live in Torrevieja, which is in the Alicante region. So obviously I'm going to be referencing my personal experience here. But I'm also going to talk about other coastal areas and the differences, because to be honest, the weather and the vibe can vary greatly depending on where you go. And before I get into it, I know a lot of you will already know this, but I want to clear up one very popular myth, something that I hear a lot about the weather here in Spain. When some people hear the word Spain, they immediately think it's sunshine and beach all year round, even in the middle of the winter. And yes, especially in this part of Spain, it has some of the warmest winter temperatures in Europe, but that doesn't mean it's all bikinis and flip-flops all year round. If you come here for a holiday in the winter, for example, you can be unlucky. And the reason I decided to make this video is because this week it's been cold, miserable, wet, and Spain is not very conducive to this sort of weather. But again, in saying that, after being here a couple of years, the weather's been mainly very pleasant in the winter. And these bursts of particularly poor weather are few and far between. So it would never put me off, but just so the people who aren't fully aware understand, they do get wintry weather here, and it can be fairly cold, but usually only for short blasts. Alicante, for example, has one of the sunniest winters in Europe. It has over 300 days of sunshine a year, which is, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm not that far from home. You don't get 300 days of sunshine in Northern Ireland, I can tell you that. So of course, compared to the grey, miserable, freezing, damp winters I was used to, it's just fantastic, fantastic. And also, of course, after a period of bad weather, did I just say this? After a period of bad weather, like we've had this week, I'm likely to waken up tomorrow morning with the sun splitting the trees. In fact, I'm fingers crossed, I'm hoping for it. And that's just one of the things that make you appreciate Spain even more. This part of Spain, anyway. I'm squinting, getting blinded. It's quite cloudy today. Right, better put my sunglasses on.
10 seconds later.
It's amazing actually how the sun can cut through reasonably mild clouds. And of course that's why it's so warm here in winter days, if the sun's out. The sun is just so strong, it cuts through any cold. The cold's there, you go into the shade, you can feel it. Evenings, you can feel it. But clear blue sky, you're sitting in it. It's warm all the time. Now, of course, Spain isn't, the way I'm talking about the weather here, Spain isn't like that everywhere. Northern Spain's really, really cold this time of year. They get snow and everything else. And even if you go further up in Costa Brava and up into Costa del Sol, you'll definitely notice more rain and chillier temperatures. But even then, it's nothing like the rubbish weather that I grew up with, and all my friends at home now are having to go through. Hi everybody, joking. Right, so looking in the bright side, which is far more prevalent here. In a sunny day here in Torrevieja, you can sit outside in a t-shirt, you can soak up the sun, you can get a suntan. In fact, some people might shout at me for saying this, but I believe this is true. There are no months in Spain where you don't get at least some, usually quite a lot, of warm daytime winter sun. But would I swim in the sea? Would I swim in the swimming pool? Personally, no chance. Although I have to admit, earlier in the year, I think I said it in one of my videos, I was considering going for a swim every day right through the winter. Every day, challenge myself, test myself, and I did for a very short period. Because eventually that day came. You know, the day that you jump in and you think you're going to die. It's so cold. Well, enough of that. Not going to do that anymore. Although there are people who do that, and there's people who swim in the sea. You see them all the time. You see them. Yep. You see them all the time. But it's such a massive bonus to just be able to enjoy the outdoors in the middle of the winter. Even today, on one of the cooler days, I'm still sitting here with my t-shirt on. And for me, that's one of the things that makes the place so special. Right, now, moving on, getting away from the weather. Next, another thing that changes quite a lot in the winter is the atmosphere, the vibe. In summer, as we know, Spain, coastal towns, buzzing, alive. Bars are packed, restaurants are full, and there's just this energy everywhere. But in winter, some areas just become ghost towns. I did a video several weeks ago, I don't actually know when it was, end of December maybe, and it was in a very popular area, La Manga, absolutely stunning place, but it was basically closed. Kilometres and kilometres and kilometres of closed shops, closed bars. There were some things open, but very few, and very few people around. So depending on where you are, it can feel like everyone's just disappeared overnight. Even around here, some bars and restaurants close for the winter. Lots of bars and restaurants close early in the evenings. I live right beside a very popular, busy entertainment place. It has crazy golf and lovely restaurant and just all sorts of things going on. And it's bunged most of the time, but in the evening closes till the weather really picks up again. Greenland's, I should have told you that. Greenland's. So you really have to know where to go if you're looking for a bit of life. So for people who live here like me, that's not a problem. I now know all the places to go, all the areas that are still going to be buzzing. But if you come here on a holiday, you may not. That said, of course, not every area shuts down. Benidorm, for example, always buzzing. Lively all year round. Some parts of the Costa del Sol, lots of stuff still going on. Torrevieja, where I live, it's certainly quieter, but it still has plenty of open restaurants and bars and cafes and lots of stuff going on. And honestly, funny, whenever I was in Guatemala for my first year, I was really shocked at how quiet it was. And I didn't really like it because it really was dead. But now that I'm in Torrevieja, I'm loving this time of the year. It's a lot more relaxed, easier to get a table at your favourite restaurant, and you can enjoy the area without the massive crowds. It sort of has a different type of charm. Here in Villamartin, yes, it quietens down, but it's still quite busy. And places like Villamartin Plaza, and if you go further down to Xenia Boulevard, places like that, they're buzzing, you know. But if you're thinking of visiting Spain and you haven't done it before at this time of the year, in the winter, do your research. Lots of places will still be pretty busy, but lots will also be eerily quiet. If you love peace and quiet, fantastic. You'll not have too many problems finding it. But if you're expecting a buzzing atmosphere, you're definitely likely to be in for a shock if you don't do your research. Check if the restaurants and bars and attractions that you want to participate in actually stay open. And let's touch on something that catches a lot of people out. Sort of caught me out a bit when I moved here. Staying warm in Spain in the winter, not always easy. Like, you may think, come on, it's not exactly freezing, and you'd be right, but only sort of, because the issue isn't really the temperature. It's the houses and properties and apartments. Most homes in Spain, especially on the coast, are built to keep cool in the summer, and that means they've got tiled floors, thin walls, very little insulation, which is obviously great right through the summer. Not so good from maybe end of November to end of March or April. So if it's 14 degrees outside, it can usually does feel much colder inside. Lots of people end up using space heaters and electric blankets and thermal clothing when they're inside. In fact, I was going to record this in the living room today because I looked out and it was very dull. But then when I come out onto the balcony, because the sun's beating through the clouds, it's warmer out here. When I go inside, I'll put long sleeves on. Right? Now, a few other things to think about, if I can think of them. Places like water parks will be closed. Activity centres, amusement parks, very likely to be closed most of the time. I personally stop wearing shorts most of the time, because if I'm going to be sitting in my balcony all day, I would have my shorts on, but if I'm going out, I won't, because you'll be in the sun and it's lovely, and then you go walking, you go into the shade and your legs are freezing cold. So you have to consider these things. Another thing is, just like home, I'm from Ireland, UK, France, it gets dark early, very early in the winter. Also, I've found that it's more expensive to keep your apartment warm in the winter than it is to keep it cool in the summer with your air conditioning. My bills go up. And then a flip side of that is it tends to be not just as expensive in other ways. For example, properties can be much cheaper to rent, hotel prices can come down. You're not having to deal with hordes of tourists. Expat communities and activities remain vibrant all year round. Winter brings lots of unique Spanish festivals. The Spanish people love festivals and love to put on really fantastic festivals. Because of the mild winter, Spain's fantastic for walking, hiking, climbing, that sort of thing. You're not having to deal with the tremendous heat that you get in the summer. Most museums, cultural sites, cafes, that sort of thing, all remain open, with lots of them being free. And of course, expat type areas like this, lots of people speaking English. It's very widely spoken. All right, so I've just touched on some of the thoughts. I get asked, as I said, I get asked these questions, and it's not all completely rosy, but it's pretty rosy. There are negatives, and if you're planning on living here, you need to be aware of them. All right, so my final thoughts. What's winter really like in coastal Spain? Well, it's certainly not summer, that's for sure, but it's still, as I said, one of the sunniest and hottest winters in all of Europe. You'll get lots and lots and lots of lovely sunny days, but also the occasional few gloomy spells. Some places stay lively, others shut down completely. And while it's not exactly Arctic conditions, staying warm indoors can be a challenge. No heating, very few heating systems out. Have I seen a radiator? I haven't seen a radiator system. Air conditioning units will put out heat, but it's just sort of different. You walk into another room, room's freezing cold, even if you have the heat on in your air conditioner. But compared to where I come from, Ireland, or even places like UK, Central Europe, the winter here is absolutely a blessing. I certainly don't miss the damp, endless grey skies, slush, or the bone-chilling cold. Every single day that I wake up, this is true, every single day that I wake up and see the sun shining, I feel grateful. It's a privilege to be able to enjoy this climate, and I never, ever take it for granted. But if you're planning to visit here, just be prepared. If you're planning to move here to live, just be prepared. Do your research. And of course, bring a jumper and means of keeping yourself warm, because it can get cold. I was just thinking when I was planning this video, although I'm talking about the cold, in my 2-year winters here, you know when you blow out in the cold and the condensation, you can see the condensation? I've never experienced that once here. I know you do occasionally get it, apparently. I've never seen any frost, none, on my car. Not brilliant? So most importantly, enjoy the place, because winter in Spain, even with its quirks, is still a whole lot better than a lot of other places. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. If you've anything to add, any thoughts, write them in the comments, because it helps people. If you live here and I've missed stuff, say it, let people know, because it helps people. Because the people who are watching this video, a lot of them are looking for this sort of information. But I'm going to leave it off there. If you did enjoy it, please give it a big thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more. Share it to anyone that you think might be interested in it. But until next time, bye for now.